Welcome everyone, I'm Archit Zashadri. Thanks so much for watching WION. Let's bring you your world news headlines right now. Rahul Gandhi begins polling campaigns in the state of Uttar Pradesh. Farmers protest in the southern Indian state of Karnataka over water sharing with nearby Tamil Nadu. Philippines' President Duterte expresses remorse about his remarks on U.S. President Barack Obama. Pakistan's Tehreek-e-Insaf Party chief Imran Khan holds a rally in Karachi. Turkey's President Erdogan calls for the establishment of a safe zone in Syria. And in tennis, world number one Serena Williams sets a new Grand Slam record for the most victories. Those stories in just a moment, but first we start in India, where in the state of Uttar Pradesh, campaigning is now moving forward with India's National Congress Party Vice President Rahul Gandhi, who has kick-started his month-long campaign. Campaigners went door to door. They met up with farmers in the Pachladi village. They've also promised them loan waivers as well as lowering some of their power bills by 50% if the Congress comes to power, that is in 2017. Now, the march will be marked by a campaign of collecting charters of farmer demands and one-on-one interactions. Gandhi's campaign from Deoria to Delhi will cover about 2,500 kilometers and will end with a farmers' meeting next month.
हमने ये यात्रा इसलिए शुरू की है कि हम नरेंद्र मोदी जी पे हिंदुस्तान की सरकार पर थोड़ा दबाव डालें। किसान की जो समस्याएं हैं, किसान के सामने जो दुख है, किसान के दिल में जो घबराहट है, वो हम मोदी जी के कानों तक पहुंचाएं। इसलिए पूरे उत्तर प्रदेश की यात्रा होगी, ऐसी सभाएं होंगी, किसानों के साथ हम बातचीत करेंगे, उनका जो दुख है, उनका दर्द है, उसके बारे में हम उसको सुनेंगे, उसको समझेंगे और मोदी जी को हम उनका दुख, उनका दर्द सुनवाएंगे। हमारी सरकार थी, 70,000 करोड़ रुपए हमने किसान का कर्ज माफ किया था, आपको याद होगा। आजकल क्या हो रहा है? पिछले साल हजारों करोड़ रुपए मोदी जी के सरकार ने बड़े बड़े उद्योगपतियों का माफ किया। 50,000 करोड़ रुपए से ज्यादा पिछले साल मोदी जी ने अपने बड़े बड़े उद्योगपति दोस्तों का माफ किया। ठीक है, आप माफ करना चाहते हैं, अमीर लोगों, बड़े लोगों का कर्ज माफ करना चाहते हैं, आप कीजिए, मगर क्यों नहीं आप किसान का भी कर्ज माफ करें? और जैसे हमने 70,000 करोड़ रुपए माफ किया था, वैसा ही मोदी जी यूपी के किसान का और हिंदुस्तान के किसान का कर्जा माफ करें।
Well, India's Home Minister Rajnath Singh, who led the 26-member delegation in the Indian state of Jammu and Kashmir, talked to India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi about the visit. WION's correspondent Ramesh Ramachandran picks up the story.
After focusing on the external dimensions to the Jammu and Kashmir issue, such as terrorism, in his interventions at the G20 summit, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday reviewed the domestic situation in the state. His meeting with Interior Minister Rajnath Singh came the day after an all-party delegation concluded its visit to Jammu and Kashmir. The all-party delegation assessed the situation obtaining in the state after weeks of unrest triggered by the killing of a Hizbul Mujahideen commander called Burhan Wani on 8th July. Mr. Singh briefed the Prime Minister about the sentiments voiced by some stakeholders in Jammu and Kashmir. Addressing a press conference on Monday, Mr. Singh had expressed his disappointment with the Hurriyat leader Syed Ali Shah Gilani for refusing to meet with some members of the delegation. For its part, the government maintains that its Jammu and Kashmir policy will be determined by what a former Indian Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee said about Insaniyat, Jamhuriyat and Kashmiriyat, meaning humanity, democracy and the Kashmiri ethos or identity. After raising the stakes in Jammu and Kashmir, the challenge before the Indian government is to come good on its promises, forge the broadest possible consensus, and to find a political solution that will be acceptable to all the stakeholders, including the separatists. Ramesh Ramachandran, WION, New Delhi.
All right, moving on now to other stories. For the second time this week, Pakistani troops have violated ceasefire violations along the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. Pakistani troops resorted to unprovoked and indiscriminate firing on the Indian Army forward posts in the Poonch sector. Now, the defense spokesperson says that the shelling had been ongoing since midnight. So far, though, good news, no deaths or any damages have been reported. Now, interestingly, just a few days back, Pakistani troops violated the ceasefire by firing forward on army posts in the Akhnur sector. Well, terrorism took center stage once again at the G20 summit in China. U.S. President Barack Obama, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and several other world leaders calling an end to terrorism. Now, they used the G20 platform to put pressure on Pakistan, specifically India's PM Modi. He launched an attack on India's neighboring state. Now, Modi basically said, without taking names, said that terrorism was being spread by a single nation in South Asia. He also emphasized India's zero-tolerance policy towards terrorism, and he called upon the international community to isolate and punish those who indulge in the same. Well, separatist leader Saeed Ali Shah Gilani's son has come under the scanner of India's National Investigation Agency. Naeem Gilani's bank accounts have caught the attention of the authorities for unusually high remittances. Officials suspect that the accounts could be connected to the recent unrest in the Kashmir Valley. Frequent transactions in Gilani's accounts have been noticed from last year. Investigators are still trying to study the transactions to find out whether the funds were used to stoke tensions in the valley. The agency could now question him with more evidence. Well, farmers in the Indian state of Karnataka, that's of course in South India, have launched a protest against the Supreme Court. This too after they were ordered to release water from the Kaveri River. Now that is to nearby Tamil Nadu state. Activists from the Kaveri have called for a shutdown there. Now a major highway has also been blocked by some of the protesters. 700 transportation buses and vehicles from Tamil Nadu have also been stopped because of the protests. Schools and colleges in the area have also been closed for the day. So far, around 2,400 policemen have been deployed to monitor the situation in the region. Karnataka's chief minister has also called an all-party meeting to discuss the water dispute. Now, the top court on Monday ordered Karnataka to release about 15,000 cusecs of water from the Kaveri River daily to nearby Tamil Nadu for the next 10 days. Well, journalist turned politician Ashutosh has been summoned by the National Commission for Women. The Aam Aadmi Party leader has been accused of demeaning women through his recent blog post. A police complaint was filed against Ashutosh after he defended party colleague Sandeep Kumar. Kumar is embroiled in an alleged sex scandal. Now, this following which he was sacked last week by the chief minister. Now, in a recent blog post, Ashutosh said that the sexual act was a private and consensual one. The AAP leader said he was yet to receive a formal notice, but he says the alleged incident was all part when he was acting on behalf of the BJP. Now, when the media asked the Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, he refused to comment any further on the issue, and again, not the first time he's sacked someone from his cabinet. Well, in Pakistan, the Tehreek-e-Insaf Party chief Imran Khan is holding a rally in Karachi. Khan, who's on a two-day visit to Karachi, is holding the rally to protest against what he says are anti-Pakistani speeches. Now, he believes they were made by the exiled founder of the MQM party, Altaf Hussein. Khan will also take part in another protest staged by steel mill workers. Khan has already demanded the resignations of the PM and Punjab's chief minister over the alleged corruption, giving them a 48 to 72-hour deadline to make a response. While the Election Commission of Pakistan will resume a disqualification hearing against Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and his family on the 6th of September, just days away. The opposition Pakistan People's Party and Pakistan's Tehreek-e-Insaf Party triggered the appeal for disqualification. But Sharif's legal counsel has argued that the Election Commission had no jurisdiction to hear petitions against the PM. Well, Philippines' President Rodrigo Duterte has expressed regret for his tirade against U.S. President Barack Obama. Duterte had made some controversial comments about the U.S. leader while telling him to not question him about extrajudicial killings in his own country. Duterte responded to the questions from journalists on the possibility of Obama raising the issue at an upcoming regional summit in Laos.
I am a president of a sovereign state, and we have long ceased to be a colony. I do not have any master except the Filipino people. Nobody but nobody. You must be respectful. Do not just throw away questions and statements. Putang ina, mamurahin kita dyan sa forum na.
Well, the U.S. and Philippine leaders were due to meet later on Tuesday in the capital of Vientiane in Laos, but Obama has since pulled out of holding any bilateral talks. Well, Obama did become the first U.S. president to visit Laos when he arrived there on Monday to attend two other regional summits. Obama emphasized his push to rebalance U.S. foreign policy to focus more on Asia. And he said that this was not a passing fad of his presidency. He hopes that it will continue when the next president comes into office. He also said that this reflects fundamental national interests. The U.S. also says it will provide an additional $90 million over the next 3 years to help out Laos, the most heavily bombed country during the Vietnam War.
America's interest in the Asia-Pacific is not new. It's not a passing fad, no matter their size. We believe that bigger nations should not dictate to smaller nations, and that all nations should play by the same rules.
Well, thousands of people protested in Myanmar against an advisory commission led by former United Nations chief Kofi Annan. The commission was set up last month to find solutions to the conflict between the country's Buddhists and the minority Rohingya Muslims. Now, people there are demanding a commission involving representation from the Rakhine nationality and perceive the 9-member panel as foreign-biased intervention. Well, the plight of the Rohingya Muslims has raised questions about Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi's commitment to human rights. Well, let's take a quick short break. Much more global news headlines to bring to you right after this, including tennis player Serena Williams, who creates a new Grand Slam record. Much more stories from around the globe. You're watching WION. The hours-long siege at the office of an international aid group in Kabul, Afghanistan, has now come to an end. All 3 attackers who had stormed the building have been killed, according to authorities. The attack took place in the upscale Serena area following a car bomb that exploded last night. The attackers had barricaded themselves inside the Palmarina, that was the building inside the heart of the Kabul city center. Now, they had staged an apparent suicide bomb in front of that building. Now, this is the 5th such attack in the city in just the last 24 hours. The strike came just hours after twin bombs went off in a crowded area near the defense ministry in Kabul. 24 people were killed and 91 were hurt in those explosions, which were claimed by the Taliban. The attacks come ahead of a conference in Brussels where international donors are expected to pledge and continued financial support to improve the security situation there in Afghanistan. Moving on now to West Asia, at least 9 people died after a car bomb exploded in central Baghdad. The suicide bomber targeted a gathering of Shiite Muslims near a hospital, this in the Karnataka district. 20 others were hurt in the blast that was carried out by Islamic State militants. Police and hospital officials only expect the death toll to rise. Well, at the G20 summit, Turkish President Erdogan is urging for the establishment of a safe zone in Syria. Turkey has taken in 3 million Syrian refugees and has pushed for a safe zone to protect civilians. But not a whole lot of support, though, from Western allies. To protect its border, though, Turkey has invaded northern Syria almost 2 weeks ago and has since cleared Islamic State and Kurdish militia fighters from that area.
Artık gerek bizdeki şu anda bulunan Suriyeli vatandaşlar gerekse Suriye'den iltica etmek isteyenler şu anda kendi topraklarında, kendi evlerinde daha huzurlu yaşama imkanını bulacaklar.
Now moving on to Asia, the UN Security Council will discuss the latest missile launches by North Korea, this in a closed-door meeting sometime today. Well, diplomats say this all comes after a request by the U.S. and Japan, who have both expressed concerns. Now, even as world leaders met at the G20 summit in China, North Korea fired 3 ballistic missiles in the sea off its east coast on Monday. Now, the missiles were fired from a region south of the capital of Pyongyang. The tests are in violation of the UN Security Council's resolutions. The 15-member Security Council has condemned the launches. Moving on now to Europe. In France, thousands of people are angry over in Calais because truck drivers and farmers have blocked the Channel Tunnel there as well as the ferry port and are demanding the demolition of refugee camps. They're blaming all of this for the rising insecurity in the region. Tractors and lorries blocked out the main route to the tunnel entrance. The road to the ferry terminal has now caused severe traffic backups. French truckers say they would continue to block it unless Britain stopped fining them over migrants. Locals, of course, are furious that the motorway has now become a no-go zone at night because of a surge in alleged attacks by the increasingly aggressive migrants. A prostitution and drug scandal continues to haunt UK Member of Parliament Keith Vaz. The MP continues his work in the face of allegations in a Sunday newspaper. Here's more on that story.
Keith Vaz made a shock visit to Parliament on Monday as sleaze allegations continue to stalk him. Vaz took to his feet in the House of Commons chamber to ask questions to Home Office ministers. But it's far from business as usual. With Vaz already accused of paying male prostitutes for sex and offering to buy Class A drugs, more details continue to surface. The Daily Mirror released more footage of what they claim is an exchange between the MP and male escorts. Piling on even more pressure, the Sun newspaper claimed Vaz was caught on CCTV cameras visiting a London hotel with a younger man 2 years ago. Meanwhile, when asked about the scandal by reporters, Prime Minister Theresa May said people need to be able to have confidence in their politicians. The comments are being seen as a thinly veiled hint for Vaz to step down as Home Affairs Committee chairman. And on Wednesday, he'll go before that committee to decide his future.
Keith Vaz is a well-known political figure in the UK. In the past, he's even been called a media darling. But as the full glare of the British tabloid press focuses in, Vaz is facing a battle to save his 30-year political career. Giles Gibson, WION, New Delhi.
Moving on now to sports, world #1 women tennis player Serena Williams now creating a new Grand Slam record. She now holds the most Grand Slam match victories for any man or woman in the Open era. Well, Williams notched up 308 Grand Slam wins after clinching her 4th round U.S. Open match. The historic milestone moves Williams past Switzerland's Roger Federer, who previously held the title with 307 match victories. The 34-year-old is now bidding for win number 309 in the quarterfinals on Wednesday against Romanian Simona Halep. Now, if she wins that one in New York, Williams will surpass Chris Evert for the most U.S. Open titles and Steffi Graf for the most championships since the start of the Open era back in 1968. Well, here's a fun story to bring to you. In Spain, they host the world's largest food fight, where people pelt each other with huge amounts of tomatoes. The Tomatina Festival is certainly the messiest of traditions. Here's a quick preview. And that does our bulletin for right now. Don't forget, you can track all of our stories on our digital, mobile, and social media platforms. I'm Archit Seshadri. Thanks so much for watching WION. We'll see you soon.